In today's episode of Dwiggy's Demos, you're going to learn how to play Hyperborea, an excellent, complex, and engaging game of civilization building, exploration, and area control published by Asmodee. As you can probably tell, I really enjoyed this game, and I hope you will too. So let's dive right in. So let me give you a brief overview of what the game's about, what you're trying to do, what the goal of the game is. So each player has a civilization or a faction that you control. In the basic game, all the factions are identical. They don't have any special abilities. But you can play a version of the game called the Race War, where you have two different special abilities that you can choose from that are specific to your race. And then you can have that special ability to use for the game. And you also have a different homeland area that has special places that only you have access to. But in the basic game, we're going to not play with those. We're going to just set those aside, and we're not going to use the special abilities because it's too complicated. Your first game, they recommend that you just do the basic setup. So that's what we're doing. So basic civilizations that are all the same, and then the basic starting homeland areas. So, like I said, each player has a civilization that they control, and there are many different ways to score points in this game. What you're trying to do is you can collect victory points. The victory points are these little gems over here. You can collect cubes. Cubes are the kind of the resources in this game, and I'll explain how those work later. You can collect cubes, and every cube you have is worth a victory point at the end of the game. You can collect the advanced technology cards over there. The advanced technology cards are all worth a certain amount of victory points. The little numbers in the upper left corner, the upper right corner rather, that's the number of victory points that card is worth. So this card is worth 1 victory point. Most of the advanced technology cards are worth either 1 or 2 victory points. So that's another way you can get victory points. And then the other way you can get victory points is through controlling areas and through conquering and destroying other people. So there are these ghosts, these little tiny guys here, that are the bad guys, kind of the neutral characters basically on the board, the wandering monsters that are on the board. And when you kill those, you get victory points. Depending on the number you have at the end of the game, you get a certain amount of victory points. And then for every enemy miniature that you destroy, you also get a victory point. However, there's a neat little mechanic here that you can't just beat up on one player and collect like all the victory points from that one player and just beat them up constantly. You have to, after you get one enemy miniature, you have to diversify and kill one miniature from all the other players before you can get another victory point for another player. So you get victory points that way, and the final way you get victory points is from these little tiles here. These are the bonus tiles, and you can see that it has a little symbol for the victory points there at the bottom. And these are also a way that you can earn victory points. There are 3 different bonus tiles. They're bonus tiles for victory points, for advanced technologies, and for the number of your miniatures on the board. The game's played over a series of rounds, and you can decide how long you want the game to be based on, how much time you have available, how complex you want the game to be. I believe that this game says that it lasts. You can play a game that's 30 minutes if you play the short game. And you can play up to 90 minutes or maybe a little longer if you play the long game. And then obviously that might shift if you have more players, because obviously each player takes their own turn and takes a little bit of time on their turn. So in the short game, the way that you play is you play till one person claims one of these 3 bonus tiles. And I'll explain what those are in a minute. So in the short game, you meet one of those conditions and the game ends. Each other player gets to take a turn so that everybody has the same number of turns, and then the game ends. In a medium game, one player has to claim 2 of them, and in the long game, you need to get 3. So one person is going to have to get all 3 of those. And once one person has 3, then the game ends, and then you add up all the victory points from all those things that we talked about, and then whoever has the most victory points is the winner. So that's the basic idea of the game. So how do you play? So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the game, what you do to make the game work. So, as I mentioned earlier, each player has their own civilization, and the resources in this game are produced by placing cubes on these little spots here that are these little squares. Okay, each player has a bag. You'll see there's a bag for your color of your civilization, and in that bag you're going to place cubes. So in the beginning of the game, you take 1 cube of each of the 6 colors. And it's kind of interesting, these 6 colors correspond to the 6 different races that are in the game. Each race has its own specialty, has its own specialization thing that they kind of focus on, and the cubes are corresponding to them. However, all of the races can use those special different abilities, and each one of these colors corresponds to a different resource. So at the beginning of the game, each player takes 1 cube of each color and puts it in their bag. And then you also pick 1 additional cube that you want to put in your bag to have like 1 extra cube of that color, depending on how you want to play the game. So you can decide that you want to be more combat oriented and you can put another red cube in. Or you can say I'm going to be more science oriented and you can put another blue cube in. So you start the game with those cubes in your bag, and then over the course of the game, at the end of every turn and at the beginning of the game, because nobody's had a turn yet, you draw 3 cubes out of the bag, and you take those cubes and you put them in your little cube area right here. And those cubes are going to be available to you on your next turn. Then on your turn, you take those cubes and those are your actions. So you take those cubes and you can place them on any square on your board that is that color. And you'll see that there are purple squares right here, and there are yellow squares right here, there's blue squares, and then there are also squares that have kind of the rainbow color, and that just means any cube can go there. So when you place a cube, you're trying to complete like a little combination, right? So in order to get the resource that is in that section, you have to place at least 2 cubes. So for example, if I wanted to get this right here, I'd place 1 yellow cube, and then 1 cube of any color, and then as soon as you complete that row, then the ability triggers and you get whatever that resource is. So you use the cubes, they're kind of like actions, right? It's like a worker placement game in some ways. So you're placing your workers on the board to kind of build up so that you can get a resource. And then once you get the resource, then you can use it on your turn. And so as I mentioned earlier, you start each turn with 3 cubes, right? So you can only take 3 actions on every turn. You can only take 3 actions on every turn. So you're going to potentially say, okay, I can do maybe one thing. I can get a victory point. So I can go here, and I get one of these gems, which is a victory point. You place that on your board. And now I only have 1 cube left, so I want to get some science. I want to do some research, so I'll place that here. And then my turn is over. And then at the end of your turn, you go into your bag and you draw 3 more cubes. So I have 3 more cubes. I draw it here, and I have those 3 on my board, and then I pass the turn to the next player. They take their turn, they use their 3 cubes, and then it's back to me. So you're only doing 3 things every turn. It's pretty quick that way. The game moves very fast. At least initially it does, because later in the game you're going to get advanced technologies, which are those cards over there, and those give you special things that nobody else has, because they're all unique. And so you're going to get an advanced technology that gives you other abilities, and you can place your cubes on those cards to get those resources on those, and you'll see that those cards have symbols that are not available on any of the basic boards, or they might have multiple copies of it. For example, that arts card up there has 2 victory point tokens on it, so if you place 2 yellows and a multicolor on there, you get 2 victory points for that, activating that technology. So so at the beginning of then now it's back to my turn, and now I have 3 cubes here, so I can place these 3. And so I say, well, let's see, I really want to get this technology over here, so I'll place a red there on the multicolor place, and then I'll place an orange there, and then that will trigger this ability, which gives me a card, which gives me an advanced technology. And I'll explain what all these symbols mean in a second here. I'm just trying to give you an idea of the flow. And then my last cube, I need green, I need to move, so I'm going to place this over here. And then my turn is over, I draw out of my bag. Now, at the beginning of the game, I said that we all had to put an extra cube in the bag, right? So we all start with 6 cubes, which is what I have right here. And now I have 1 cube more, so I'm going to draw out of the bag. I draw up to 3. I only have 1 cube left. Kind of sad. So I'll put that cube here. So on my next turn, I'm only going to get 1 action. So I pass the turn. Then it's my turn again. I can only do 1 thing. I can only place 1 cube. So I'll place it here, and this will activate this ability here. I'll get 2 movement points, and then I do that. Now it's the end of my turn, And now I go in my bag, there's no cubes to draw. Whenever you go in your bag and you can't draw any cubes, then you reset. And you go do the reset action at the end of your turn. And resetting is taking any cubes off of your board that are in completed things, that are in completed technologies or completed actions, and you put them back in your bag. If you have any singles on your board, so for example, if I had this here and it wasn't completed, I could leave that on my board if I wanted to, because I wanted to get this ability next turn or next round, or I can put it back in my bag and just kind of start over. And then after I've reset, the other part about resetting is that you reset all of your miniatures on the board, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then after you reset your miniatures and you reset your board and you put your cubes back, you draw 3 more cubes, and you're ready for the next turn. So let's pause right there, and then we'll move on to talk about what the different technologies do. So now let's talk about each one of the technologies. Each one of these rows here is a technology. This is a field of study, maybe an area. That's what each one of these major sections is. And then each one of these rows here is an individual technology that gives you resources. So the technologies, the fields are exploration, warfare, growth, progress, trade, and science. And so those are each one of the fields. Each one of those fields actually has a major color that's associated with it. So growth uses purple, science uses blue, progress uses orange. So if you want to focus on that particular area or field of study, then you want to get more cubes of that color. But it's also a good idea to diversify. So let's talk through the base things and explain how you can use your resources. So as I said earlier, you place your cubes to activate a technology. So we have red and orange and blue. So we'll just talk about these. So in the exploration area, you get movement. So both of these technologies give you a movement point, and that's what that little arrow is. That arrow is movement. So if I want to trigger this, I put a green cube here and then any color, so let's just put an orange cube here. And now I've triggered that technology, and now I've gained 2 movement points. Movement points let you move through the map, and they let you move your miniatures. So to move from one space to another space simply costs 1 movement point, unless that tile has a special terrain type. So this terrain type on the basic homeland area is just a basic like desert, and it doesn't cost any extra movement points. So let's say I have 2 movement points. I'll move here, and now these areas here, these are the starting tiles that are in the center, are called core tiles, and these center tiles are all hidden. They're placed upside down at the beginning of the game. Once you move adjacent to them, they reveal. So I moved into this tile here, it touches these 2, so now I reveal what these 2 tiles are. And that one reveals, and this one reveals. So this top one here is just another desert tile, so that's normal. This is a mountain tile. Mountain is a special terrain type that requires extra movement to get into it because it's a mountain, and also extra movement to get out. To move into a mountain tile, it requires 1 extra movement point. So if I needed to move here, I need 2 movement points to get there. So on this turn, I just generated 2 movement. I could never get to that mountain. I can only move here. But I could use my extra movement and move into this spot. The other terrain types are forest. That's a forest tile. And forest is dense and difficult to get into, so it costs 1 extra movement point to get into, but no extra to get out of. Swamps are difficult to get out of because you get stuck in them. So swamps require an extra movement point to move out of. And as I mentioned earlier, mountains require an extra movement point to get in and out of. However, once you're in a terrain type, if you're moving from a tile of that terrain type to another tile of the same terrain type, there's no penalty. So if you're up in the mountains and you're moving to another mountain tile, there's no penalty. So that's how movement works. You just move from one tile to the next. Every movement point is used to move 1 miniature. So this technology right here, let's pretend that I had purple. So if I place my purple and my green here, this technology gives me 1 movement point, and it gives me one of those. That symbol is place a miniature. Place a miniature into your homeland. That's what that little symbol means. So when you have that resource, you get to place a miniature on the board. And this is your homeland. These 3 tiles right here, those 3 hexagons are your homeland area. And when you place somebody on the board, you place them outside of your starting city. and you place them outside of the city. You can see there's a little wall around the city. When you place your character on the board, you place them outside of the city. The designation of inside the city versus out is important because I'll explain that in a second. So, so that's what that symbol means, place a miniature on the board. So let's talk about combat. Combat, when you activate combat, if I place these two cubes right here, I would get 1 combat or 2 fortresses. So let's talk about combat. Combat is used to destroy other miniatures. So you're going to destroy any miniature. They're all equal. All the miniatures are equal. Both opposing players' miniatures, their characters, and the ghosts that are kind of the neutral characters. The ghosts go into the ruins and the city. So I actually skipped over that part. When you reveal a tile, you populate that tile with anything that it needs. So ruins are the places that get populated. And you can see here on this tile. On this tile, you'll see that there's a little dotted circle here, and it has a little circle on the outside rim of it, kind of rotating around it. That is a symbol for a ruins. A ruins is a place that is going to have some treasure in there, and it also has a ghost that is protecting it. So when you reveal a tile that has a ruins on it, you place 2 of these little bonus tokens of the color on the symbol, and then you put a ghost on top of it guarding it. Cities don't have any bonus tokens in it, but they are also guarded by a ghost. So when you reveal those tiles, you populate them with the stuff that they need. So now back to attacking. So with that 1 attack point, you can destroy 1 other miniature. The rules are that you have to be on the same space. So let's just say that we were like this, and I moved on to this space right here with one of my movement points. Let's say I had one from some other purpose, from some other action technology, and now I moved on to this tile. I can use a combat point or an attack point to destroy one of those miniatures. And I can choose any one I want. I can choose this one that's in the city, or I can choose this one. I don't have to enter into the city. I can kill something on the same tile that I occupy. So if I decide to kill your guy, I take your guy and I place him over by my area, and now I've claimed one of your miniatures, and that's worth a victory point. In the same way, I could also choose to destroy the ghost, and I take the ghost and I place him in my area, and I store those up. And again, the number of ghosts you have at the end of the game gives you victory points. So once you do that, now I've cleared out the city, and now the city is available for me to move into. And I'll explain the cities and the other actions in a moment. So that's how combat works. Now the fortresses are important to know. So when you activate this technology, you either get 1 combat or 2 fortresses. The fortresses are these little tokens that you start the game with. Everybody has ones of their color. And if you get a fortress, fortress tokens, you can place them on the board, any tile that you want that you occupy. And it basically fortifies your guy. So I could place, in fact, if I wanted to, I could place 2 there. Every fortress token requires an additional attack point to defeat the unit that's in that area. So if I want to attack this guy here, I actually need 3 attack to defeat him. I'd have to destroy this, and then finally destroy your guy. So those are really cool to protect your guys. The interesting thing about fortresses is they're only temporary. They're kind of like a temporary fortification only until the beginning of your next turn. So if you, for example, if you moved into this area here and you moved into the same tile with me, and then you passed your turn, you'd be vulnerable to me to be attacked unless you have some fortresses on there. So you might move onto that tile and plan to kill me next turn and place your fortresses down, and now you're protecting your guy, kind of keeping him safe until your next turn. At the beginning of your next turn, any fortress tokens you have on the board are removed and placed back in your supply, and then you can resume your turn. All right, so let's talk about this technology. This makes sense. This is pretty straightforward. It starts to actually make sense. They chain together. So this requires a red and green cube to activate, and you get 1 attack and 1 move. Just resources you can use. You can use them in any order that you want. It's not attack then move. All of the resources you get by activating technologies you can use at any time during your turn. The only requirement is that you have to use them on that turn. If you don't use them on that turn and you pass to the next player, then they just disappear. So you have to activate your technologies to get the resources that you're going to be able to use on that turn. So if there was no way you could move or nobody to attack, then you wouldn't activate this, right? Okay, so that's all the combat or warfare technologies that you can do on the basic board. So let's look at the growth ones. So growth is all about adding miniatures to the board. So if I activate the growth technology, that lets me add a miniature in my homeland, just like I talked about earlier, add a guy to the board, and then it gives me a fortress. The next technology, which requires purple and red, gives you a new guy, and it gives you attack. So those are the three on this side. So let's talk about this side. So this is progress, and progress lets you develop a technology. It gives you the ability to do research and to get stronger in a certain technology. Why is that important? Good question. So when you activate this technology right here, you get 2 abilities to do research. And that's what these little sliders are here. At the beginning of the game, you get to choose 3 of these technologies, or 3 of these areas or fields of study that you want to start researching. You get the ability to make one of them advance it up to 3 spaces, one of them advances up to 2, and one advances up to 1. You can choose, depending on how you want to specialize, how you want to preset. So at the beginning of the game, you get 1 in 1, 2 in 2, 2 in 1, and a 3 in 1 of these areas of study. Then, over the course of the game, while you use the progress technologies, you get to study and research any technology. So that's the any technology symbol, any color symbol, and you get to advance 2 different technologies, one spot each. So you could go like this, and you could go like this. Now, why is that important? You could see right here at the top of the board that once you've advanced the technology up past these lines here, you get the ability to add a cube. That's how you start specializing your bag. It would be a super boring game if you only had 6 or 7 cubes to start with. So this lets you advance in that area of study. At any time during your turn, you can choose to slide this all the way back down to 0 again. And when you slide it back down to 0, you get the cube that is corresponding to that area. So if I was all the way up to this level, you get to add 2 cubes. And when you claim the cubes, you take those cubes from the supply and you add them to your bag. So early in the game, you only have 7 cubes to start with. Remember how I said you wanted to have a multiple of 3. So you want to try to get 2 more cubes in your bag as quickly as you can so you can get complete turns. However, let's just say that you've used all your cubes and all your cubes are on the board here and they're in different technologies, and let's just pretend this is legal. and now you're at the you know that your bag is empty. This is not a good time to get 1 more cube and put it in there, because at the end of your turn you're going to draw out of your bag. There's going to be 1 cube in there, and then your next turn you're only going to take 1 action. So you want to use these abilities to get more cubes at an advantageous time so that you can draw those technologies. For example, if you're in a situation here where you needed to get 1 more cube so that you can complete this technology, you might want to say, okay, right now I need 1 more cube. Or you might say, you know what, I need another orange cube, or I need another yellow cube so I can complete this. I've got my yellow sitting over here. I'm going to spend that yellow research, and I'm going to get 1 more yellow cube. And now I know I'm going to draw that yellow cube and get it so that I can complete that. Okay, so that's how progress works. So these 2 progress technologies let you advance 2 different technologies, 1 each, or this one here lets you advance 1 technology up to 2 spaces. And you're going to be using this over the course of the game to research and to specialize your race. So this is the trade area, and this is all about victory points. This technology gives you 1 victory point. Pretty simple. Take that victory point, put it on the board. The second technology gives you a victory point and progress as well. Okay, and the last and probably the most interesting of all the different fields is science. So science, all the science technologies require 3 cubes there. So they require 1 blue cube plus something else. So in this case, this is a blue and 2 wilds. When you activate this technology, you get to take a new card. You get to take an advanced technology, and you get to take it from anywhere out in the offer. So as I said earlier, there are 8 different technologies. There's 2 from each type that are on the board here to start the game. So when you activate that thing, you get to draw 1 card. That's what the little kind of draw is. So you get to take one of these face-up cards. The other part of that symbol is that if you don't like any of the face-up cards here, you can discard the 2 face-up cards for one of the stacks and put 2 new ones out there. So let's take a look at a few of the advanced technologies that you can get and talk about how you use them. So as you can see, we'll scroll through and I'll show you some examples from each one of the different piles. Each one of these advanced technologies is basically like having another technology that is added onto your board. It's a card. Once you take the card using the science action, activating the science technology, or some other ability that gives you an advanced technology card, you take the card from the area and place it next to your board. And then it is as if you have another technology that is on your board that you can use and you can place cubes on at any time during your turn. So when you have the ability to place a blue cube, you might place it on the siege engines, or you might place it on architecture. Or if you have a green cube, you might place it on flying war mounts, etc. So each one of these technologies is just another thing that you can do. They're called advanced technologies because in most cases they give you something more advanced. There are symbols on many of these that you probably haven't seen before that aren't on the normal board. And the explanation for all of these symbols is available at the end of the rulebook. So I would suggest that you crack that open and have it available to you next to the board when you play your first time, just so you can see what they mean. Board Game Geek also has some files that you can print out. There's some little reference sheets that are kind of handy to have so you can share them with other players, so you don't have to pass the rulebook around. But once you play a couple times, they'll make sense to you and you'll remember because they're all pretty self-explanatory. But I'll talk about a couple of those examples here just so you can see. So for example, Flying War Mounts gives you an attack point and 2 flying movement points. Those flying movement points are movement that ignores terrain type. So normally it costs you an extra movement point to move into a forest, or it costs you an extra movement point to move out of a swamp. When you use flying movement, it ignores that and you can just move in using 1 movement point. Flying War Mounts requires a red cube and 2 green cubes to activate. Weapon Supremacy has a very special symbol here where the cubes are placed. You need to place 2 red cubes and then a cube of any color on here to activate it. And it has the infinity symbol on here because this technology, unlike any other technology in the game, these technologies that have these symbols, these infinity symbols, you can leave your cubes on there after you reset. And this gives you an ongoing effect for the entire game as long as you leave your cubes there. And you can see here in this case why you would want to do that, because for Weapon Supremacy, each time you produce an attack point, you get to produce an additional attack point for free. So you don't have to place cubes on this in the future to get that additional attack point. Every time you produce attack using some other technology, you get an additional attack for free. So it's a 2-for-1 situation. Sanctuaries is a really great example of an advanced technology. They do things that are kind of broken, that are kind of powerful in some cases, and that you can use to change your strategy that's more than just moving around the board. It can kind of give you a mechanic. Sometimes they can give you a mechanic that you can use to get a whole lot of points or to do a bunch of things very quickly over the course of a few turns. Sanctuaries is one of those examples. Sanctuaries lets you sacrifice a unit, sacrifice a miniature on the board, and when you do that, you get a victory point, and then you get 4 technology advancements on your development tracks. That is super powerful, and you could use that over the course of many turns. You know, once this becomes clear, you could sacrifice a miniature, get a victory point, advance some technologies, then you could get some extra cubes out of it, and you're kind of recycling and kind of using a little bit of a machine to recycle your miniatures once they're all used up. You could move a miniature onto a ruins or a city to activate that ruins or city, and then you could sacrifice him to this technology and then move another miniature into that city. So there's all kinds of cool things you can do here. I'm not going to go through every single symbol, but if you just take a look at them, once you break open the game and take a look through them and then look in the back of the rule book, you'll get a better idea of how they're used. And again, once you take these advanced technologies, you place them next to your board, and then you just act as if they are part of your board and they're part of your civilization now. This technology is available to you, and you can place cubes on it just like you can place cubes on your board. So a couple things to just finish up here and to wrap up a couple of these things, just a couple of details you need to know. One thing that's important to know is that on your player board with your technologies, you can only activate each technology 1 time per round until you do a reset. So for example, right here I've activated this growth technology that gives me a miniature and 1 attack point. If I draw another purple and red cube in a subsequent turn, I can't activate this again. It's full. Those spaces are taken and I can't do that again. Same with this science technology over here. I can't activate that technology again until I do a full reset. So it behooves you to diversify and to have a bunch of different colors of cubes, because if you draw all blue cubes, you're only going to be able to do these two technologies here. There's only two technologies that require blue cubes plus this one here. So there's really only 3 dedicated blue spaces on the board. So if you have 5 or 6 blue cubes in your board, you might draw 3 or 4 of them in one turn, and you might not be able to use all of them. So you really have to think about, as you progress and as you research technologies and as you advance, you want to try to do that as evenly as you can. There are some areas where you might want to focus on one thing. So if you see that your opponent is building a whole bunch of guys, you might want to say, you know what, I'm going to focus on movement and combat, and I'm going to start fighting him. I'm going to start trying to take control. And so you can maybe add more red and more green to your bag to increase the chances that you draw them. But you have to realize that there might be times where you draw cubes that you can't really use, and you have to put them on some of the multicolored spaces. And the advanced technologies that you purchase will also drive what you do. So if you end up focusing a lot on trade and get those 2 trade technologies out there, then you might want to get more yellow cubes in your bag so you can activate those as well. So that's something to really think about as you play the game. Again, I've already told you about trying to focus on getting multiples of 3 in your bag and trying to time your refills of your bag so that you're always drawing 3 cubes. The last thing that I want to cover that I didn't really explain very well is one of the ways that you can earn victory points. The last area that you can earn victory points, in addition to attacking and conquering and taking the miniatures and having ghosts and having opposing miniatures, is area control. Every tile that you control at the end of the game, every tile that you have a majority on, so you have more miniatures than your opponents, so in this case I would control this tile, every tile you control gives you victory points. On your homeland tiles, you get 1 victory point for each tile that you control, so this would be 3 victory points here. So these are the borderland tiles, these 6 right here, that's the borderlands that border the center, and those are worth 2 victory points per tile, and the central tile is worth 4 victory points if you control it. And as you'll see here, I'll reveal these here really quickly so you can see. The borderland tiles usually have ruins on them, and they also have cities on them. And the central tile has a special little mark here so you can delineate them when you set up. The central tiles are really powerful. They generally have more than 1 city or ruin on them, and when you activate that city, you're going to get some really amazing effects. I didn't explain activating cities yet. We're going to get that in just a second here. So that central tile, in addition to being worth lots of victory points, also gives you lots of resources, because you'll see here that this ruins is a gold ruins, and the gold ruins give you these gold tokens, which I'll explain in a moment, and the city gives you a whole bunch of things when you activate the city. So that's why you want to be controlling the middle of the board here. It gives you more victory points, and it also gives you more powerful actions. So that's how you use the different technologies on your board. So let me explain, in addition on your turn, when you're activating your technologies and you're getting the resources to spend, there are optional things that you can do as well that don't take actions. One of them we already talked about, which is researching a technology. You can, at any time during your turn, you can slide your slider down and put cubes in your bag. You can do that anytime you want, and you can choose to not do it if you want. In addition, the other 2 things that you can do is you can activate these cities and ruins on the board. As I mentioned earlier, all the borderlands and the central tiles, anytime there's a city or a ruin there, it's guarded by a ghost. You have to defeat the ghost first. But once you defeat the ghost and you've taken that ghost off the board, then you can move into the ruins or you can move into the city. And here's how you do it. You don't need movement points to do it. All you need to do is be present on that tile. So for example, if I was here and I defeated that ghost, and the ruins is here now, I can choose to move in with this unit and move in here as a free action. When you move into a ruins, you take the top tile, the top token off of there, and this is a bonus token, and I'll show you an example here. And it has a resource on it, just like the other resources that you'd find when you activate technologies. It's basically giving you a free technology activation. There's bronze, silver, and gold tokens for the 3 levels of ruins out there. So the more difficult ruins that are the harder to get to are all going to be in the middle here on the central tile, and then there's going to be silver on the borderlands, and then there's usually bronze on your homeland tiles. And these are more valuable, so the bronze are kind of simple stuff, and as you get higher up, this is a silver token. This gives you a free activation, which gives you a free token on the board, or a free miniature on the board, which is really good. So you take that token, and then you can choose to use this resource immediately, or you can set it in your victory point area and store it for a later time. So, for example, if you got a combat point there, you might not be able to use it. So you can say, I'm going to save that. You're only allowed to store one of those tokens at any time. So you have to kind of decide, if you get a second token, you have to use one of them immediately. So that's the benefit of taking the runes. It gives you an extra resource that you're going to be able to use. And as I said, they get more powerful as the game goes on, or as the areas get rarer. So that's how you activate runes. You move into it, you take the token off of it, and now runes and cities both have the same rule. When your miniature moves into a ruin or a city, it is stuck there. It's stuck there until you do a reset. So you're only going to be able to move your miniatures into a ruin one time on your turn and on your round until you do a full reset. So, for example, all of your tokens here at the beginning, all of your miniatures begin here outside of your main city. And this is a city, and this is your home city, and all the home cities give you the same resources. They give you I didn't mention what cities do, did I? So cities are just like a ruins. You have to move into them. And in the same way, they have to be vacant for you to move in. And if they're vacant, you simply are on the same tile and you choose to move into the city. And then when you move into a city, it gives you the resources immediately when you move in there, just like as if you had activated a technology. So in this case, this particular city gives me either a movement or it gives me an advancement of one technology, one spot, like that. And you choose which one you want. In the same way, when you move into a ruins or a city, that character is now locked there until the end of all your cubes. You've drawn out all your cubes, and now you do your reset. When you do your reset, you move all your guys out of the cities and out of the ruins, and then they can move freely again. So you can't move into a city and then move out and then move in and move out. That free action of moving into the city actually comes at a cost because it locks that character down. So you have to kind of time that. A lot of times it seems it's more beneficial to do those moves towards the end of a round when you know you've got most of your cubes out, because now you know, okay, I'm going to lock my guys down temporarily and I'll be able to reset them soon. So that's how cities and ruins work. You collect the tokens. Those are good to have. They can store you up. They give you free resources. And as I said, the Borderlands tiles all have more advanced ruins. They have more advanced cities. And then the central tile usually has very high-level ruins and high-level cities as well. At the beginning of the game, whenever you reveal a Borderlands tile or a central tile, you populate it with the right number of tokens, and you put a ghost on there. Bronze and silver tiles get a ghost and 2 tokens. The gold ones get 3 gold tokens on there. So you would have the potential of getting 3 special actions, or 3 special resources off of there if you defeat that ghost, and then you're able to occupy that city. And as you'll see, these gold ones, that right there is a free cube of any type. So when you get this resource, you take a cube, you put it in your bag. So that's the value of those things. So let's just talk about how the end of the game works. So you're playing, and eventually you're trying to activate the end of the game. And you really want to activate the end of the game when it's most advantageous to you. These bonus tokens can be claimed whenever you meet one of these 3 conditions. And let me go through them. The first one is the victory point token. When you have 12 victory points in your supply, you take this token and you immediately trigger one of those end game conditions. As I said, in a short game, all you need to do is trigger one of these conditions and the game will end after that round. So if you have 12 victory points in your area, you trigger this, unless you're playing a 2-player game. A 2-player game, the number is 15, because the game would be too short otherwise. So once you get to 15 in a 2-player game, you claim the token, you put it in front of you, that's 2 extra victory points for you, and now you've triggered one of the endgame conditions. And there's 2 of those available, so your opponent could claim one as well. The second one is the Advanced Technology bonus card. The Advanced Technology bonus card is claimed when one player has 5 advanced technologies. So once you've researched 5 advanced technologies, you claim the bonus token and you've triggered the end of the game condition. The last, this is probably one of the more difficult ones to trigger, is the growth one. This is triggered when all of your figures, all of your miniatures are on the board. Each player starts with 10 miniatures, and so you need to get all of your 10 miniatures on the board. Once all 10 of your miniatures are on the board, or they've been captured by opponents, your supply of miniatures is depleted. Then you trigger the end of the game. You can trigger one of the conditions. You grab this token, put it in front of you, etc. So in a short game, as I mentioned earlier, in a short game, only one of these has to be triggered. all the other players get one more turn, and then the game ends, and you count up your victory points. In a medium game, any 2 of these are triggered, the game ends, and in a long game, all 3 of them have to be triggered. So that's Hyperborea. I think I've covered everything that you need to know. I hope that this made sense to you. I hope that you could see how things build upon one another. So now, in a little while, we're gonna do a demo. We're gonna show you how the gameplay works and just show you a few rounds so you can see how the activations work. You can see the game in action. So now that you've learned about the rules and how to play the game, we're just going to do a quick little playthrough to show you how the game works, so you can see the game in action and see a few turns. I'm playing a 2-player game here with my son, and we'll just take turns, and you can see the game in action. So, Nick, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay.
Oh yeah, we have to get started by drawing our first 3 cubes, so that's part of the setup. So we've both drawn our 3 cubes, and we've already got our technology is already advanced, so I've chosen mine. We've chosen our extra cube and put it in our bag, so we're ready to go.
Yeah, I think I want to get one of these. Yeah, I will do this. Blue and 2 of any color, which both have to be purple, and I will take this one.
That's really good. And that goes in your unused cubes area, which is that far side.
One.
Yep. So that's one where you have to leave 2 purple cubes on it permanently, and that every time you get a growth or get to add a miniature, you get to add an extra miniature. Wow, that's pretty good. So
my 3 new cubes.
that could end the game very quickly. Okay, so good job. So you're all set.
Do I draw a new one?
Yeah. You draw a new one and set that on there. Okay. So on my turn, I think I am going to do this. I'm going to put this here. That's not going to work. I guess I'll put this here. And then I'll do this. So I'm going to move twice. So I'm going to use 1 move to go here. And that reveals these tiles. Okay, so I need 4 silver tokens. Can you put 2 on each one? And then we'll get a ghost to go on each one of these ruins. Okay, and that's a city, so that gets 1 there. Alrighty. I think I'm going to use my other movement to move in here. And then I am going to move into this city here. That gives me a free advancement. And I'll advance my green. And it gives me another free movement, so I'll move this miniature there. And then I will move into this ruins.
Did you get your green cube?
Not yet. You have to turn it in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you turn it in.
Okay.
So I moved into the ruins. And I got this guy, which is pretty helpful. It'd be more helpful if I actually had some movement, actually had some miniatures. So I actually moved into this spot, so I reveal these as well. So, ooh, look at that central tile, wow. 2 cities. So, yep, those just get ghosts. So that one is a victory point and 2 technology advancements. And that is draw a cube and get a victory point. Okay, lots of options here. All right, so that's my turn. So I will draw my 3 cubes and pass the turn back to Nick.
All right. Alrighty then. I have a yellow, orange, and red. So I think I'm going to I'll move this guy in here, give me a move and an advancement, so I'll advance my purple. And then I get a move, so I'll move this guy over here. And then I'll move him in here. See what I get. Ooh, alright, I got there. I will show you, because I'm going to move it now. So I got a 3 times advancement.
Okay.
Is that split among any, or it has to be the same one?
That particular symbol means move one technology 3 times.
That's unfortunate. So I have to do all 3 and then...
Yeah.
Alright. I'll just... Yeah,
You don't have to use it now if you don't want to.
yeah, I'll move it. I'll move this one. Yeah, I'll just do this. I'll just do that.
You're going to waste?
Waste 1, that's okay.
Okay.
I want to get this.
Just put that in the discard over there by the other ones. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, this is a bronze. And then I did my move, I did that, I did my advancement, now I just do these. So I will I'll just place 1 right here. And then, oh wait, we forgot to reveal these.
Oh, sorry about that.
Ghost, 3.
There's the ruins and a city.
Ooh, that's a good city.
Lots of ghosts on the board all of a sudden.
Yeah. And then I'll use the red and my orange to do this. So I'll get an advancement of each. I'll advance this one and this one.
Very nice.
That's it. I just have 1 cube left.
1 cube left. Okie dokie. I will do this. I'm going to use my ruins token. That gives me 2 movement. And I'm going to... Oh, I can't do that. I won't use my ruins token. That gives me 2 movement.
I didn't see that.
That's exactly right.
What
Because...
didn't I see again?
So this swamp here... Swamps cost an extra movement to move out of. I wanted to move into this forest here. Forests cost an extra move to move into. So it costs 2 move to move into here, plus 1 extra move to move out of there. So it would cost me 3 to get into that spot, and I don't have 3 movement available. Bummer. So what I'll do is I'll just use this orange on this multicolored spot. That'll generate 1 combat, and I will defeat this ghost. And then I will move into... this could be bad. Let's just hope it's not bad. Come on. Oh, that's good. Okay. That is very useful. Now I have to use one of these right now. You can't have 2 tokens. You can't store 2 tokens. So I'm going to use this one right now. And that gives me 3 single advancements. So I can use them however I want.
Nice.
So I am going to go like... So, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Just like that. So that is that. Can you put that over there in the bronze pile for, or that's a silver one. Thank you. And now I get to place these 2 cubes, and I'm going to place them over here because I know that I have 1 cube left in my bag. You can always reach in your bag and count how many cubes you have left there. You just can't count how many you have. So I can reach in my bag.
You just can't look at the colors.
You can't look at the colors, right?
You can count.
Yeah, so I know I had 1 in there, and I knew it was a blue because that's what I started with. And so that's the end of my turn. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, did you do this yet?
Yeah, that was last turn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's locked down. He's stuck there.
I get my 1 green, so I'll put it there. And I get 2 move. So... that guy's locked down there. Yeah, I'll just put this guy 1 move here. And then I'll move him up into here.
Okay.
And I'm not going to use that move, but I'll get the advancement instead. So.
Okay.
And then I didn't use the extra move I got.
Okay.
So.
And are you going to try to use your... are you going to try to use your advancements now to get your cubes now, or are you going to wait till later?
I'm going to wait because then...
You want to reset first?
Yeah, because I have... Otherwise, I'll just have the 2 cubes.
Well, you could get 3 right now. If you turn in your purple,
I don't want to turn in that one yet. I'm going to wait.
You want to get 2 out of it? Okay. Okay, so you're done with your turn then?
Yep.
Okay, so draw out of your bag.
Can't.
Nothing? Okay, so what do?
Pick up
So you reset.
my stuffs.
So everything.
Can I do this at the end of my turn?
No, you have to do it during your turn. So you can't do it during your reset.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're putting all your guys back in the bag, all your cubes back in the bag, and then all of your guys move out of their ruins and cities. They kind of reset into their empty spaces. And then you draw 3 new cubes.
Ah.
You drew a gray one.
Yay.
Bummer. Okay, so it's my turn. I just have 1 cube, so I only get 1 action. That wasn't really great, but sometimes you got to do that. I'll place it here on blue, so I get to draw an advanced technology. And I actually don't like any of these very much. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to get some movement. I think that's good. So I'm going to acquire flying giant mounts. This is a technology that lets me spend a green and any color, and instead of getting, like the normal one is a green and any color, instead of spending a green and any color to get 2 plane movement, I get 2 flying movement. Those flying movement points allow me to move through any terrain and ignore the terrain penalties, which is excellent. So that's what I'm going to take, because there's some heavy-duty terrain out there, and I want to deal with it. So, so that's it. I'm going to draw, and I don't have anything to draw in my bag, so I perform a reset. So all my cubes go back in my bag, and all my miniatures come out of their places where they're locked down, and now I'm ready for my end of my turn, and I draw 3 cubes. 1, 2, 3. And that's the end of my turn. So let's just end it right there. That's a full round. You saw me do a complete set of turns here and then do a reset. Saw the same thing with Nick. We both acquired an advanced technology. So now we're ready to probably start beating on the ghosts and start claiming stuff out of the ruins and continue to advance our civilizations. So that's all we've got. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out our other videos on our channel, and hope to see you back again soon. Thanks.